So I'm gonna count to three, okay? Good evening, everyone, to the Finance Committee meeting for February 9, 2021. So the first item of the agenda is called to order, and we have quorum. So next, we move to the approval of the minutes from January 26th. Do I have a motion to approve the January 26th Finance Committee meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Any question, discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carries. Next in the agenda is public appearances for non-agenda items. Do we have anyone on the chamber, in the chambers of online, on the phone?
We do not.
No, okay, so thank you, Scott. So next we move to item number 4 is the finance director reports. Misty.
Yes, so I do still owe you guys questions from the last couple of meetings. I do have that on my list and I'll get back to you. But since our last meeting, tax collection is over. We did end about the same percentage-wise as what we have in the past. So we're usually right around 70% of the total roll collected. We were at 69%. The biggest change, though, is online payments. So usually we collect barely any online payments, and this year we collected, I think it was over $1 million in online payments. So it was a nice option for people. Most people picked to do that $1 fee to pay out of their checking account. So it was a great way, I think, to provide options for people that were interested, and it was a relatively low cost item. So that was good to offer. And now we're rolling up into audit and end of year stuff. So end of year is kind of kicking in now. Audit is scheduled for the second week of March. So we have a lot to do before then. And then we did have turnover in the finance department. So the account clerk 2 is open. That's been posted, and we will hopefully fill that quickly. And then I'm working with 2 developers to issue the PAYGO TID bonds that were authorized by council. Their projects are done now. So going through the paperwork with them to get that bond actually issued. And then on the COVID front, the PSC has provided new guidance for us as far as the COVID impact on our water and utility payments. So we are allowed to continue to waive interest until April 15th, which we have elected to do in consultation with the mayor. And then we could have started charging interest back to July, but we're electing to continue to waive it. But we are looking to begin the disconnection process again, April 15th. A part of the purpose of that is to really encourage people to get into those payment arrangements and make at least small payments. My fear from a personal finance perspective is that if people don't stay on top of it at least a little bit, that when things are open back up, that balance will be very large and will be somewhat insurmountable. So we'll use our traditional methods. If people have payment arrangements, we wouldn't disconnect them as long as they keep up on them, keep that flexibility there, but just have another tool to try to get people to continue to make those payments. That is it.
Yeah, I think I talked to Mike about that. He consulted with me, asked my opinion about. And I think most of the small business owners are so occupied with other stuff that we need to send a reminder sometime, because this typical loan, they are not going to receive like a statement, like a typical loan that you receive a statement from the bank. So they need to have a reminder,
So you're talking about the Biz Boost loans.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so we had issued those 5 loans and payments were starting to be due in January. And we did offer a short grace period for a couple of people that did not make those payments as a one-time grace period similar to tax collection.
Okay, any question for Misty? Randy? Gabriela?
I think Gabriela was first. Go ahead, Gabriela.
A couple questions, Misty. Number one, what kind of type of communication is happening to the residents that are late on their water bills? Is it a monthly mailing? Is it just they send out their regular bill that a few months later with the added charges?
And so we're quarterly billing. They would get their quarterly bills continuing, and then starting April 15th, we would start that disconnection process. So it's a letter letting them know what their balance is, and what needs to happen and the number to call to make payment arrangements. And then if they don't respond to that, we go out and we put a tag on their door, to like a flyer almost, to encourage them to call us and to let us know on what their status is.
Okay. So there's a stepwise process for notification.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then in terms of the tax collection online, did we budget for those online fees, anticipating an increase in online payments?
Those fees are passed on to the property owner. So,
Oh, okay.
so for example, I paid my first installment online, and I paid my first installment plus an extra $1 as a convenience fee in order to be able to do it online.
Got it. I misunderstood. Great.
I'm
Thanks.
gonna do a follow-up, Randy, because I forget. That $1 covered all the admin fee for the city?
So it covered the cost of the third-party vendor that we use to
Okay.
process the credit card payments.
Yeah.
So city staff obviously still has to do all the processing piece of it. I wish we could import those into our software, but we can't. We still have to manually process them all. But that would be the same whether they cut a check or if they paid online.
Okay,
So it covers our additional costs.
Randy.
The question I have is a little different, and I always refer to it as a P&L, profit and loss. When do you expect that to be out, at least for the December numbers to wrap up or reconcile for the end of the year?
So audit happens that second week of March. So we have to have everything done the first Thursday in March for them to take the numbers. So in January, we're really focused on property tax collection and waiting to get the information from the departments. And then we
Right.
spend February going through our processes to close everything out. And then it would be early March that things are available.
Okay.
So if you guys are interested in a preliminary one, I could provide it. My concern is just it's not overly accurate at this point because there's a lot of year-end procedures that we have to do before it's valid.
December.
I'm just curious more of the timeline than anything else. And I know you've spoken of it, but I just so that I have an understanding. I know there's a lot that has to go into it just to wrap up the end of the year. So thank you.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't think you should spend time doing a preliminary report. We'll wait for it, but
Right.
yeah, nice to know the timeline.
Okay, any other question? Okay. So next we move to the review of the bills, and then we're gonna do the detailed review of all check for $10,000 and above, dated January 16 to January 31st, 2021, totaling $1,624,067 with 36 cents. Any question there? 1 second, because I have some question with those checks.
I have a couple questions.
Okay, Randy, you can start. Okay.
On the first item is what we're replacing the 2020 or the new vehicle is 2021 Chrysler Voyager. For what department, what group? Oh, I think you're on mute, Christy.
I was asking what page you're on. So I think you're on page 7, right? The e-wall.
No, I'm sorry, I'm on page 1 of 10,000 above.
Yeah, that is for the police department.
It is for the police department, just as look, the next item it references the for the Ford. So are they both interchangeable? Are they both for the same vehicle?
Nope, they are 2 separate vehicles.
Okay, all right. All right, one identifies the police department, the other is the police. That's all right. You still answered my question. Thank you. The follow-up questions on that report, down to, for instance, Taylor Living Trust, those 3 items, 650, 736, and 766. I see that they're overpayment refunds. I'm assuming, I'm just guessing, and it's probably going to go to another question on a follow-up report, but is that money coming from an escrow? And
Generally, yes. So those are property tax payment refunds. So a lot of times, especially if a house either gets purchased by somebody else during the year, sometimes we'll get duplicate payments from the closing and then from the new escrow company. Or if the escrow company did, pay us more than what was the requirement of the bill. For these dollar amounts, that is most likely that we receive duplicate payments from 2 different owners at different times.
Okay, I do have to ask, the Taylor Living Trust, Is that just where the money's coming from initially?
That's who made the payment to us or who we received payment on behalf of. So if it's an escrow payment or a title company payment that is more than what we are expecting, we will reach out to the escrow company or the title company to find out whose money that really is. And then we make payment as directed by them.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about Strand and Associates. Is which project is that one, Misty?
Oh, the last one? That is the stormwater study at Lacey and Seminole.
Oh, okay. Okay, any other question, Gabriela?
Yeah, for page 8 of the packet, the integrity and grading excavation charge, is it typical for us to pay like huge lump sums like that? 1.2 million, or is it unusual just given the scope of the project?
So it's not unusual to pay big lump sums. So these lump sums are larger than normal simply because of the scope of the project. So this would be a 1 month, maybe 2 month worth of construction. And they did a lot of work on Fish Hatchery Road in a relatively short amount of time. So
is there a reason the payment was in this year versus the previous year? Or is that just happened to be when the bill came due?
My guess is that's just happens to be when the bill came due. So we would process checks as we get the payment request from the departments. So there could have been a delay between when the invoice made it to the department and then when it made it from the department to the finance team to actually cut the check. But it's usually not that long. A lot of times, especially with these big projects, construction companies do just want to get the work done and then they kind of clean up the paperwork afterwards. So it's not terribly unusual.
Is there, because I would assume the Fish Hatchery project was budgeted in 2020. Is there any like confusion about the fact that it was paid out in 2021, even though it was a 2020 budget item?
Yeah, no, so we actually will still show this as a 2020 expense on our books because the work was done in 2020. It just ends up showing as basically a payable account. We owed the money to somebody else as of the end of the year. So we do record it that way. But this one will have money that carries over into the next year. And so at the next meeting, we'll refer out those carryovers for budget amendment approval from you guys in March. You'll see this project on there for kind of the continuation of that project.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so next we move to the next batch. Is the detailed review of all check issue, check number 121622-121776, dated January 16 to January 31st, totaling $1,748,733 with 95 cents. So I have a question, Misty, here. There is one of the refund overpayment to the city of Fitchburg.
Yes, that one was an interesting one. So we received payment from somebody and it got applied to the wrong parcel.
Oh.
And so since we were crossing settlements, it was easier for us to basically not provide them the refund, cut the refund to ourselves and put the money on the correct property.
And my other question is, I have seen a lot of these damaged, the posts, the mailboxes.
Yep.
So this is my first year that I see so many.
We often will have a lot.
I know, but I've seen it like so many in the same page. You know what I mean? So what is the plan here? You know what I mean? Because it's so do they need to be? They're our own crew, or they are the one that we outsource? Do you know who?
So these mailbox replacements are ones that were damaged due to snow plowing. So not necessarily that the plow hit the mailbox. A lot of times it can be just the pure amount of snow that knocks over the mailbox. When this happens, our crew does go out there to look at the mailbox and make sure that it really was caused because of the snow plow or because of the plowing operation. Things like it wasn't damaged at the bottom from a weed whip or something like that. If that was the case, it wouldn't really be because of the snow plow. Or if you can tell that it was hit by something other than the snow plow, then it wouldn't be the city's responsibility to replace it. But once it's determined that it was as a result of snow plowing, the homeowners have two choices. One, we could replace it for them, but we will do a very basic, post and mailbox, or the homeowner could elect to get paid these dollar amounts from the city, and then the homeowner replaces it themselves. Generally, they would pick that option if they wanted something that was more fancy than your traditional mailbox. And so that's why the amounts are also pretty low. For a mailbox, you cannot replace a post and a mailbox for the amount that we're providing to them that you would
So it's
expect.
around $60. This is the maximum amount.
For both the post and the box. If both of them were damaged in full, they would get the $60.
Okay. Any other question for this batch? Gabriela.
Yeah, on page 27, I was just, and you might not know this, but one of the charges was for 2,500 gallons of AG64. I was just curious if that was some sort of fertilizer or.
Nope, that is for, I believe it's brine for snow plowing operations. It's either brine or something similar to that.
It's for I was going to talk about this because we brine the roads for winter plowing before we salt it. And it's actually, it's 80% salt water and 20% beet juice. So I just learned this yesterday. So, okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, so next we move to the next batch of the detailed review of ACH payment for $10,000 and above, dated January 1st to January 31st, totaling $112,292.85. Any question there? No? Okay. So next we move to the other batch. The last batch is the detailed review of all ACH payment dated January 1st to January 31st, totaling $114,393.65. Any question there? No? This is a standard. Okay. So next we move to the action items, and the first is I need a motion to approve resolution R-03-21, resolution authorizing Dane County Services for an stormwater permit review and inspection in 2021.
I move approval.
Okay, Misty, what is this?
This is our annual pre-approval in order to have Dane County help us with the review of erosion control and stormwater management permits. So part of it is a timing issue. The staff time to review these is not available. So Dane County is able to do that. There's also a benefit from having Dane County do them because they're more of a global specialist or a countywide specialist in that area and could provide a good level of service for that. And most of the cost is passed on to the developer or the property owner that's requesting the permit, although there are some that are done for city projects, which are then absorbed by the project budget. And this was all budgeted.
In which is in the public works budget, this amount usually?
I believe it's stormwater.
Okay, no, stormwater, yeah.
Yep. Stormwater fund is, the pre-approval in front of you is 50-50 split stormwater and then billed back to the property owners.
Any question? All those in favor of resolution R-03-21 say aye.
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 Nays, abstention. Okay, the resolution is approved. So next, Misty, do you have any update in the next one?
I do. On the next one, R0921, staff recommends that we postpone this to the next meeting. Ultimately, the Board of Public Works denied it, and we think that there would be value in continuing the conversation between Board of Public Works, RCC, and staff about how to best use this money before Finance Committee and Council makes that final determination. So we would like just 2 more weeks to continue that conversation.
Okay, so do we need to?
So you need a motion to postpone.
Okay. Given that, I motion to postpone resolution R-09-21, solid waste budget amendment to allow spending of CDRR deposit funds I motion to move that to the 23rd, February 23rd meeting.
Okay, all those in favor of, postponing? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Nay, the resolution is postponed, approved. Okay, next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-13-21 is approving a memorandum of understanding MOU with the town of Dan regarding the proposed USGS Swan Creek Monitoring Station.
I move approval.
Okay, so Misty, you're gonna talk, or maybe Gabriela can talk about this too.
Start. So this is the item that we talked about during the budget process. It was the council amendment that was approved. So this piece of it is the memorandum of understanding with the town of Dunn, who is going to contribute towards the overall cost. And then a couple resolutions from now will have the actual payment to USGS to install and monitor that monitoring station.
Was approved in public work?
I believe so. I think that last one was the only one that was
What
denied.
about the other one?
Yes, it was approved in RCC.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to make a comment about that. You know, in the intergovernmental agreement, when it names the city and the town, can we say the city of Fitchburg shall contribute? Or, you know, I mean, even though we're talking about a city and a town, sometimes you have the town of Dan, and then sometimes you say the town, and sometimes you have the city, you know what I mean? Should we make it clear or consistent?
So at the beginning of the document, where it talks about who is entering into the agreement, it references who the city is and who the town is. And then
Yeah, but sometimes they mention the town of down, and sometimes they say the city. I don't know. This is what is, I don't know, for consistency. That's it. I don't know.
I can pass the suggestion on to legal.
Yeah, I don't know. Because in number 1, we said the city, number 2, we said the town of Down, then we mentioned the town in number 4, and, you know, I mean, we are not consistent. I don't know. I am not a lawyer, so, but. Okay, any question about this MOU?
Only a comment that I am very excited that this is all moving forward. It's nice to see those MOUs come through.
It's good seeing.
Agreed.
Okay, Randy, do you have a question?
No, I just simply said agreed.
No, okay. So all those in favor of resolution R-13-21, say aye.
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 Nays, the motion is approved. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-17-21 is approving change order to solid waste contract Pelletieri.
I motion to approve.
Okay, Misty.
Yep. So a little bit of background on this one first. So we did an RFP last year in which we selected Pelletieri for a 5-year contract with the level of service that was authorized by council. So had we not done a change order to this one, this would have been approved administratively because it was under the contract that was authorized by council. However, this year, mostly because of the increase in online shopping, as well as other things, we came to realize that the cardboard recycling drop-off site is much heavier used than what we originally thought it was going to be. So we're bringing forward a change order from this year through the end of the contract to increase the number of dumpsters for cardboard so that there's 2 additional 8-yard ones there. This cost was accounted for in the 2021 budget, which means that the cost is accounted for in the fees that we are charging to all of the properties for the garbage and refuse service. But because it's a change in the contract, that's more than $25,000 over the entire term. That's why it has to come to council.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. So because it's not clear, how much is the total for the for the time of the contract, the amount that we.
So the extra drop-off site dumpsters is the $9,651 for 1 year, and then it's 4 years worth of cost.
Yeah, but if I am an external, I want to know how much is going to be, because, when you have a change of order, you have a change of, fee usually. So how much is in I can see the total annual cost, but I don't know what it was the previous total cost without the change order. So I don't know if the monthly charge $804 is the new charge. How much was before the change of order? You know what I mean?
I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, it's factored into the increase in recycling charges that we approved sometime back in December.
Yeah, I know that. I get it, but I want to know how much is this change of order. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
On
You're
page
looking for the
50,
difference.
what is?
what was that, Randy? I'm sorry.
I think what Julie is looking for is the difference between the two.
Yeah, so on page 55 of the packet is the actual change order for the contract. So in year one, these two additional dumpsters will cost us the $9,600. Year two, 2022, it'll be $9,800. The year after that is the $10,000, and then 2024 is $10,240.
No, yeah, I get that, but I don't know. I don't know that before. This one is with the new change order included. What it was before.
No, this is the actual change order. So the city's total cost was, we'll say, $1 million before this change.
Oh,
And now
so
we're
it's gonna
adding
be
another.
Oh, so it's gonna be an additional $9,000 in 21, another additional 9,800. Oh, that one is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is based on the city's cost. So there's
Okay,
an additional city cost of
So
those
it's
amounts.
it's like a $40,000 increase.
Exactly.
And you are telling that we don't need to increase the annual fee because it's already with the fee that we did last year is gonna absorb this increase.
Correct.
Oh, because we have a reserve, isn't it true, in that fund, too?
We do, but we also expected to make this change and propose this change during the budget time. So at budget, we accounted for it. This increase is factored into the 2021 budget. And then that means it was factored into the fee that we're charging all of the residents already. Now we're changing the contract with Pelletary to account for it as part of the purchasing policy.
Oh, I don't understand. Well, this is for another. I don't understand why, because I don't remember when we approved the contract for Pelletary at the end of the year that we talked about this additional dumpster. I don't know. Maybe I am.
We approved the contract with Pelletary 2 years ago now, and it was a 5-year contract. So had we not changed the level of service and what we were asking for, we could have just done the pre-approval administratively and not brought it back to council because council already approved that 5-year contract. The reason why it has to come back to you guys is because that total change over the 4 years is more than $25,000. And under our purchasing policy, all of those things have to go back through council again.
Okay,
Also, the cardboard, the 2 extra cardboard units, we've been talking a lot about it in RCC. It was approved as part of the CIP and then put into the budget for the recycling section was my understanding of it. And then the 2020 unit charge for recycling was $203 over the course of the year. And then we increased it to $209 for 2021. So it was a $6 increase for the recycling. And that is partially reflective of the increased pickup of the cardboard.
Okay, any other question? No?
I wanted to make one more comment too, because RCC has been having a lot of conversations about the recycling service because we do offer a really high level of recycling pickup services in the city of Fitchburg, and we're trying to take a look at those costs and a cost benefit analysis of if we want to continue at the same level, in particular with unlimited curbside recycling and then also with the fish hatchery recycling site because it's unstaffed and therefore is sometimes used pretty frequently by people that are not city of Fitchburg residents and don't pay that fee. So that's something we were looking at. And my understanding is that we may make that contract change with Pelletary if we decide to change service, but it probably would be a reduction of service and not an increase. Anyway, just a note.
And so that particular clause about the additional unlimited recycling, when we went into the contract with Pelletary through that negotiation process and the bid process and that 5-year contract, at that point, they did say that we could go back and change our mind on that particular piece. But generally, once you sign a 5-year contract, you know, you're locked into that level of service unless they agree.
Okay, Randy, do you have a question?
Yeah, it really doesn't pertain to the dollars, but I mean, ultimately it does. And Alder Gerhardt, you mentioned RTC, and has there been any discussion? I don't want to digress too much from finance, but has there been discussion regarding, I should say, a closer supervision of who is using our drop-off site of cardboard? I mean, throughout the time, I know our city's growing. Over 20 some years that I've lived here, I've seen a considerable increase in cardboard recycling, you know, and yard waste. And I'm never quite sure of those that are really dropping off. And I'm just wondering, has there been any serious discussion about monitoring?
Yeah.
So, cameras.
Yeah. So at the meeting, not this past meeting, but the meeting prior, Claudia reported on some data that she collected about who is using. We actually were able to put some staff at the drop-off site to kind of collect data and who is dropping off. So we have some data about who is using it. If it's being used by outside of City of Fitchburg, the answer is yes. It's a limited data set because we just don't have the staffing to be able to track it, but we do have some limited data, and we're going to take that into consideration. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I can share it with you if you'd like to see it.
Maybe offline, or
Yep.
how we work that. I should say offline.
I
Yeah.
think like a couple of years ago, maybe Misty, you remember that the city was more, you know, say, active in, especially with the landscaper, that they were dumping stuff in the recycle. So now, you know, even though there is a camera, a video, people, you know, but I think that they were more looking at those type of company that were abusing our recycle bin area. But, you know, but because they were looking, you know, so I remember that it was more like, yeah.
So actually, I just took a look at my notes. It looks like up to 18% of people that are using that site, at least on the day that was tracked, were not from the city of Fitchburg.
But how do you know?
We actually had, Claudia had, the Public Works actually put a couple staff out to
with the license
drivers ask for IDs. And so it wasn't completely definitive because some people didn't have IDs on them, but we just got a general benchmark, and it looks like up to 18% of people on this particular day were not in the city of Fitchburg.
I mean, just from observation, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, in landscapers, that might be a difficult call. They might be doing work for a Fitchburg resident, but I'm not totally convinced that they're all, I hate to use the word, but legitimate.
Yeah, well, we banned contractors. We did that back in May of 2020 or sometime around that roundabouts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we banned them. I mean, we can't necessarily enforce it, but.
Yeah, I mean, their signs come off vehicles very quickly, and then, you know,
we should have, you know what, it would be fun if we should have like something like put in our car, like what is, like a sticker that
So
say
if I can interject for a moment. So I think we do, I mean, all these ideas are great, and I think it is something that we should look into, but I think we also need to keep in mind that cost benefit analysis. So yes, it's costing us an extra $10,000 to get 2 extra dumpsters, but if it costs us $30,000 in staff and equipment and you know, all of that stuff, you just need to keep that in mind as these conversations continue too. Because there's places you could get a little decal for your car. Do you mail them out with property tax bills? But there's obviously a cost associated with that. Do people come to City Hall and get one? And how do they prove that they're a resident? So there's, you know, I just think there's a lot of conversation that would need to happen before we made a decision on stuff like that. And it's a great budget conversation. But I just encourage you to keep that cost benefit in mind as well.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we will talk more about this in RCC and possibly bring it to council in some fashion. Maybe Misty, maybe you should come to RCC and we can talk it through at some point. But I do think it's an important discussion, especially as recycling rates have gone up consistently and significantly between 2019 and 2020. So it's something we should have a serious discussion about sometime in the near future.
It's about education, you can educate people saying, who are the people that are supposed to be using this, recycling site. Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-17-21, say aye.
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 Nays, the motion is approved. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-25-21, approving a joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey regarding the proposed USGS Swan Creek Monitoring Station.
I move approval.
Okay, so Misty.
So this is the item that's connected to the MOU. So this is the actual purchase with USGS for the installation and the monitoring of that new station.
So I have a question about this agreement will be renewed annually, or how is the details?
So the agreement covers 2021,
Yeah.
and then I would suspect that it would be renewed annually.
Any other comment from your meeting, Gabriela, because you discussed it when it was?
Yeah, it was approved by RCC. This is very much in line with the original stated, this is the same commitment that USGS made from the outset of the project. They said this is what we contribute consistently, so this matches that. And this is standard, I think, for any USGS monitoring station in any municipality.
Any comment from Public Works? No, they approve it? Okay.
I didn't hear anything otherwise, so I would suspect that they approved it.
Okay, any other question? No? All those in favor of resolution R-25-21, approving a joint, okay, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion, the resolution is approved. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-38-21, amending the 2021 general fund budget for the assessor contractual services.
Motion to approve.
So as you know, there was turnover in the assessing department. The commercial assessor position resigned, so that's vacant currently. But right now is a really busy time for assessing. This is kind of their game time right now, so they needed extra help. So we did a $5,000 budget amendment, which can be authorized by the mayor to move $5,000 of savings from the vacancy into professional services to hire a contract person to help us through this busy time. But that amount was limited to $5,000. So now what's in front of you is a second budget amendment that would be on top of that for another $8,500 to take that amount from the vacancy and move it to that contract again. So this would be as needed. We're hopeful that we'll be able to find a commercial assessor quickly. They're interviewing on Wednesday, but we don't know that for sure. And again, because they're just so busy right now, they couldn't afford to be down a person considering everything that's happening. So it was a good use of that vacancy savings to keep their ball moving.
I have a couple of questions. So this vacancy is for 45 days, according to the information in the package?
So the employee left in January, and we are currently recruiting for them. So hopefully they'll be sooner rather than later.
We already hired the contractual services, isn't it?
Yes. So the contractual services, we have a current contract for that $5,000 that was authorized by the mayor. If this budget amendment is approved by you guys, we would do a change order to that contract if needed and increase the amount that we would have that person able to help us.
Okay, so the other thing I would like to, I don't know if I didn't open the package but if the contractual services, how many hours we are talking about? Because in total we are going to be paying $13,500 for how many hours of services?
So it's, I believe it's $35 an hour, and we would follow our purchasing policy. Under the purchasing policy, anything that's less than $25,000 can be approved by the mayor.
No, I understand that, but I am surprised with, that for me is is too high to pay $13,500, what we are paying, how many hours, how many days. And also you have the budget amendment request in the page there that, from where the money is gonna come, to cover this 8,500, 4,000 coming from wages and 3,000 for health insurance. So health insurance why is so high?
That's 2 months worth of health insurance. So while the position is vacant, the city doesn't have to pay health insurance for that employee. So ultimately, we took the full amount of the vacancy savings that we thought we were going to have, assuming the recruitment goes well the first time. And we're asking for permission to use that on this contracted position as needed, if needed.
So, so does it mean when automatically we hire a new commercial appraiser, we don't need this?
Correct. So Amy, the city assessor, would work with the person and then the new commercial assessor when that person is selected and hired and brought on board. She would determine what her needs are between that new person and this contracted person.
Any other question? Randy?
Yes, I have a couple.
Okay.
Since this is a contractual agreement, the health insurance and the dental, and I think you answered this, but are not taken into consideration, correct? I mean, the contractual person does not receive health and dental from the city of Fitchburg.
Correct. So what's in front of you guys is a budget amendment to take the money that we aren't spending because the position is open and making it available for this position instead.
Yeah. And then, is there a resource? It just seems like such a specialty. Is there a resource to reach out? You have that resource to find somebody to fill this position? Which you have, but I think it would be very limited. I'm just curious more than anything else. Yeah.
It's exceptionally limited. So assessing is what I would call a dying industry. It's not an industry that people are thinking about when they're in high school and deciding what they want to do. You often wouldn't think about mass appraisal or assessing as a career. So that was a concern. But Amy is very connected in the industry between the professional association and other assessors. And so she reached out to people to find out who people knew. I believe this individual was recently retired. And so was interested in a kind of a temporary position. Works out well for us. We get a really high level person that can help us through this tough time and helps the contracted person as well.
Good, thank you.
So, and it's coming to us because you need to make an amendment to the budget, that's it. Otherwise, because the amount, you don't need to come for the amount because it's under the 25,000, but it's because it's an amendment to the budget. So you're moving money from one fund to the other one.
Correct. So I'm getting permission to move the money and be able to spend it on this, but the actual purchase and who was selected and all of that stuff is done administratively.
Any other question? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-38-21, say aye.
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 Resolution is approved. I need a motion to approve resolution R-47-21 is adopting the amended emergency sick leave and family leave policy for general employees and emergency responder.
I move approval.
Is it okay if I go?
Yeah, no, fine. I was waiting for you.
You have to call on me. You're the chair.
Okay.
So back when we approved the extension in early January, at that time we knew that we were going to bring back this for further consideration. At that point, we didn't know, was the federal government going to come in and require us to do something different? And we were really just kind of kicking that can down until we knew what was going to come down from the feds. So we knew that this day was going to come, that we're going to talk about it again. At this point, we still don't have better information from the federal government as far as if or what they will require us to provide. I know there's a lot of discussion happening, so it's at least something that they're considering, but nothing has been finalized or voted on at this point. So what's in front of you is that same policy, but extending it to March 31st of 2021, which is allowed under the old rules. The FFCRA allowed it to be provided through March 31st, but didn't require it. So we are proposing to continue this through the end of the quarter. But there is an extra clause in there this time that working with our legal attorney that gives us the opportunity that if something does come down from the feds, that the mayor can automatically revoke this policy so that we can replace it with what is required to be done from the feds.
So what is that? That one is what is the sentence that it was added? The employee may.
So in the actual policy, on this page 72 of the packet, there's the big chunk of red. So it says that the policy, et cetera, will terminate upon the earlier of March 31st or the effective date of any federal or state law requiring the city, et cetera. So both policies have that language in it. And then I believe there's language in the actual resolution as well.
Okay. Question? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-47-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The motion is approved. Okay, we are done with the action items, so we move to the announcements. Do we have anything to announce? Misty?
Nothing here.
No? Rest? No?
Nothing here.
Okay. So the next meeting will be February 23rd, and I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The motion is approved. So we are adjourning at 6:19.